You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
Hey there! Did you know Baker's always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower-than-low prices? And when you download the Baker's app, you'll enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. And don't forget fuel points to help you save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. Want to save even more? With a Boost membership, you'll get double fuel points and free delivery. So shop and save big at Baker's today. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, just a little bit of housekeeping here. This YouTube music thing is first of all, it's a pile of crap. Let me just get that out of the way. So the way every single podcast player works is very simple. In fact, I almost never have to do anything to get my podcast on a player. You can find my podcast on, I would guess, almost every single podcast player that exists. Very simply because, number one, there's only, a couple of actual repositories, and every other podcast player just pulls from those repositories. But very simply, the RSS feed that our podcast puts out gets distributed to these repositories, and that's it. I don't have to do anything. YouTube is like, hey, why don't you manually transfer it over here? And it's like, why would I have to do that? And they're like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. Just go to your YouTube channel and submit your RSS feed and you're cool. Like, okay, I guess I'll do it manually. So I do that, and it uploads 3,000 podcasts as videos to my YouTube channel. And immediately I lose about 30 subscribers. And every single episode gets uploaded as a video, and I don't want that. Now, it's got a small perk in that there's just a steady stream of views, 20, 30, 50 views. Like, okay, well, maybe that'll help the old algorithm. I don't know. But it's really annoying. And I didn't really want it, but I kind of left it alone because I set it as private, thinking, okay, what if I just make the videos private, and then I could still see everything. I sent it to JJ. I'm like, can you see this? And it says, no, you can't see it. It's private. Like, you got to freaking be kidding me. So it's like, well, I can't not I'm looking at all the other podcasters, and they got their YouTube or their podcasts on there, and I'm like, well, I can't just pull it, and I'm not seeing the videos on their channel, so I don't know what the heck's going on. So I wake up today, and I have less than 3,000 subscribers. It took me a very long time to get above 3,000. I purged about 50 subscribers over the last week, and I'm just pissed. So I talked to YouTube, and of course they don't know anything at all. Finally, they're like, well, here's what you could do. Just go to your library and add the RSS feed there. I'm like, okay. If I add an RSS feed to my library, is that just going to make the podcast on my library and not distribute it? And they're like, well, yeah, it'll just be on your library. I'm like, okay, you freaking moron. That's not what I want. I need this distributed on your platform, just like Google used to do. That's the thing. They had Google Podcasts. They know how this works. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. Now you got to come over here and do it. So I'm like, no, let me be very clear. I need my podcast distributed on YouTube Music, and I do not want every single episode uploaded on my personal YouTube video channel. And after 15 minutes, because of course with every question, the person that's helping you doesn't actually know. So like, can I put you on hold for 5 minutes? Good. I'm gonna play Warhammer. Go F yourself for a minute. I'm sorry. I'm a little aggravated. Don't do that. Just get me my answer. So then the person comes back and they're like, oh, yeah, we can't do that. There's no way to do that. The only podcast player that has no way of doing that. So I did a little workaround, although I'm still annoyed. I have a different YouTube channel. It's Packernet Podcast is the YouTube channel. So I'm going to upload my I'm not doing all of them there. It's from today moving forward over there. There will be actual videos uploaded to that channel, and the podcast should still be distributed. The reason I'm very annoyed with this is that any one of you, and I would encourage you, please, please, please do not use this as your podcast player. Please, please, please find a different one. Go to Spotify, go anywhere else. Please, I'm begging you. Here is the reason. If you listen on YouTube, this is the only one that does that, I will get a view on my YouTube channel. The YouTube channel that I don't give a crap about and is not monetized. It will be a download or a view on that channel if you listen to the podcast. And I will get nothing for my actual podcast. The podcast that pays the bills, the podcast that, I mean, there's going to be a big dip in the amount of listeners if everybody goes over to YouTube, and all the listens from here that my advertisers care about will be moving over to YouTube to help get views for a podcast channel that I have essentially abandoned. Because YouTube is the biggest, dumbest pile of crap ever. I cannot understand why that would be a thing. So let me once again plead with you to please not listen to this podcast on YouTube. Use literally any other player that exists. I know the Apple people are like, what are you talking about? There's only one thing that exists, and it is the great Lord Apple. So don't worry about it. This is just the Android people who actually have options of things. Please just go to Spotify. Go to Spotify, all right? Or whatever else. I don't care. Talk to. I saw somebody else gave some suggestions of like a player or whatever that they use. Do that. Call into the podcast and give suggestions. I'm begging you not to go to YouTube. I shouldn't even put it on there, but I don't want to be the only podcast, Packers podcast, that is not on YouTube Music, and then, whatever. So anyways, I'm not even getting the marginal benefit anymore that I used to be getting of additional views on my YouTube channel, because I decided to take it off my YouTube channel because everybody's getting pissed at the content and they're unsubscribing. So good times, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, since I'm in a bad mood, I figured it's been about 3 days since I've talked about the Bears. I'm not going to spend the whole time doing it, but I found a YouTube video of Chicago Bears media, and this guy's a freaking goober. There's been all kinds of clips of this guy. They are the Chicago Bears media, depending on how things are going. I sometimes, if you listen to like AM radio, they're super like anti-Bears when things are going bad. But there's a couple that are just, I mean, you want to talk about bootlickers, man. Good Lord, these people. Justin Fields is the greatest thing ever. And now that he's gone, it's Poles is the greatest thing ever. They just jump to the next thing. So I was listening to Colin Cowherd talk to this guy about how great Poles is and all the reasons, and I could not pick my jaw up off the floor. It took me quite a bit of time. So I'm listening to this idiot as YouTube is trying to talk to me about how incompetent they are, and I'm just ready to take this screwdriver that I don't know why it's even sitting on my desk. I'm going to take this thing, and I'm going to start attacking people. I'm not going to stay. I'm just going to throw it. I'm going to throw the screwdriver at somebody's head. I just thought, and this is a me problem, right? This is me just not using my brain, I guess. I thought Bears fans and media personalities would be smart enough to just acknowledge reality, to look at it and go, we were on that whole let Poles cook thing, but at this point, with Fields leaving and with the compensation we got and the way things are going right now, and we've had the number one pick 2 years in a row, I understand it's because of the Panthers, whatever, but we still suck. Maybe we should at least pump the brakes on Poles and make him prove something. We don't have to be all the way out, but let's just pause the Poles cooking show for a minute and see how it goes before we continue. We'll put it on pause. see how it goes, and, once things pick up, which I'm sure it will, I'm sure it'll get there, but until then, we're not going to be singing the man's praises. And I got Colin Cowherd being like, I didn't like him, and now I like him. And then the radio go, oh yeah, let me tell you every single thing that's ever happened that's so good, and I just want to rip my eyes out of my head. I'm sorry I'm kind of graphic with things. I'm a little annoyed. So let's do this. I don't think pulling my eyes out would actually help. It's an audio thing. I mean, I can still see his face, which is a problem. Let's be honest. So this is Colin Cowherd. Let me just read the description here. Colin Cowherd is joined by Chicago sports talk radio host Danny Parkins to discuss all things Windy City. I'll be honest, if you'd have told me Danny Parkins, I'd be like, I have no idea who that is. But definitely a well-known. He's on, we've done this a lot with YouTube. If you've looked at any of the YouTube stuff, you've seen him before. They have a show that they put together, and he's on one of the shows where they're always very positive, and they always try to spin things in a positive way when things are very negative. Especially with Justin Fields. So anyways, let's just go ahead and get started with the nonsense.
Facts that I have.
So I don't spend any time on social media. Some of that is simply because I have a staff at the Volume. I'm very fortunate and a pretty hardy staff at FS1. My kids are not on it. My son never is on it. My daughter infrequently, but used to be, not anymore. But it's pretty toxic. So, I think about this because, one of the things about our business, and I don't get many people on that I get to talk about the business, which is why I'm doing it now, because you love radio, I love radio, and I do think occasionally fans like to just hear how you and I think and talk about this crap.
I love talking shop.
I didn't like Ryan Poles initially. Velus Jones, I watched him at USC, could not track the ball. I mean, that I literally text you GMs and I'm like, he doesn't know what he's doing. That he can't play. He can't play.
Right.
So, but I watched USC maybe more than Ryan Poles. And then there was the Chase Claypool, which I defended because of the body type, but Chase ended up going sideways and not being very mature. And so my takeaway is I don't trust the ownership, Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, and then probably knowing he butchered Velus Jones and knowing that there are certain things about offense like line play, I think he's drafted it pretty well, that he knows. He went and got DJ Moore. He went and got Keenan Allen and moved Mooney. And I thought, and then he brings in Gerald Everett and he's Swift, who's he can catch the ball to the backfield. And I'm like, new information. I think,
first of all, going and getting guys doesn't take a genius. I don't know why GMs get credit for going and getting guys, especially when they're not even necessarily good. Any freaking moron could go pay money for a player. I don't care. Anybody could have paid DeAndre Swift to come play. The Bears are the only ones that did, but I mean, let's leave aside the part where some of these names are not even necessarily good football players. He's just listing every player that Ryan Poles went out and paid to come from some other team that isn't garbage. That's it. That's the only thing he's doing. And it's, hold on, new information. What's the new information exactly? By the way, I'm not giving Brian Gutekunst necessarily credit for getting, to some degree I am, because they're like two of the only actually high value players in the draft. I'm more shocked that the Packers are the ones that came away with them. I would have expected a much more robust market, but everybody's so busy going out and finding the 30-year-old freaking has-beens and the DeAndre Swifts, the one-dimensional running back types for whatever reason, and the 32-year-old wide receivers like Keenan Allen that apparently Colin Cowherd is like, ooh, new information. He went and paid for that wide receiver, because apparently, so what is my question? Listen, Brian Gutekunst isn't going to be judged, and listen, if Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs are elite football players, that's great. But again, it's kudos to Goot for getting them, but I'm less impressed because we already have the information. I know what Xavier McKinney is. So all you're doing is buying him. It's like going to the grocery store and buying, a pre-made sandwich and then coming home and eating it and being like, this is good. I'm a good cook. Like, you didn't cook it, dude. In fact, nobody did. It's a sandwich, but it wasn't even assembled by you. Somebody else did. You just bought it. And you can see all the ingredients in there. So everything that goes into the scouting, everything that goes into finding the right attributes for a player and maneuvering to draft the player and then developing the player. None of that has to do with you. You just went and swiped the credit card for him. I'm not giving you credit for that. Then beyond that, again, most of these guys are not even good. I mean, he listed Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett is a 30-year-old tight end. He had 411 yards and 3 touchdowns last year with a 65 PFF grade. What are we talking about Gerald Everett for? By the way, they already have a decent tight end in Cole Kmet. So Gerald Everett is a 30-year-old, which makes no sense because we are not in win now mode for Chicago. We are in CYA mode for the GM maybe, but you paid a 30-year-old tight end to come in and be your tight end too. Why would you even list his name? Because number one, again, there's nothing impressive about paying Gerald Everett to come and play for you. Number two, this is not a wise decision. This is a bad decision. So I need to be on Colin Cowherd's show. I have to find a way. Somebody has to set this up. I need to sit down with Colin Cowherd and have him explain to me why Gerald Everett is something that makes you reassess your thought process when it comes to Ryan Poles. Can anybody on planet Earth freaking explain that to me?
Ryan Poles knows what he's doing. I think his last 6 moves, I love the Montez Sweat move. It got heat, but I'm like, folks, there's nobody in the second round as good as Montez Sweat. Okay. So
I love all of his more recent moves. Are you talking about trades and free agency? Every single one of them? And by the way, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, I don't give you credit for trading away a pick that you got for being completely incompetent. You traded the number 1 pick. Any moron can trade the number 1 pick and get a haul. Give me the Bears pick today, and I will get a haul for it. I will get a player and a bunch of picks. I'll get multiple firsts. I'll get seconds. I'll get players. I'll get it all. I won't get a quarterback. That's also part of the situation here. But apparently that doesn't matter. All that matters is you come away with a haul, and then you're a genius. I mean, this is the most kid glove garbage in the world. If you're a GM and all of your hits, supposedly, and many of these are padded by non-hits, but if all of the praise comes from you swiped a credit card and bought a player off of another team that knows how to draft and develop, and you got a haul from trading away a high pick that you earned from being the worst team in the entire NFL, wow. Freaking wow.
Right, and no guarantee you'd get him in free agency.
That's right. But what is the takeaway? Because the Bears, Eberflus has been criticized. The ownership has. But where is everybody sitting on your GM, which in football is such a substantial position because the rosters are so big and there's so many moves to make?
I don't know how you could have any grade on him other than an A.
I just, boy, oh boy. Get me on this guy's radio program in Chicago, please. I want to go at it. Like really, really, really want to.
It doesn't mean that he's perfect, and you've listed a few of the big misses.
Well, A's pretty close. A is pretty close to perfect. That's sort of the definition of an A, right? Perfect is 100, and A is at worst a 90, right? So it's pretty close. So go ahead and make the case, despite the unbelievably horrible issues that have been in Chicago as a direct result of your GM, how he is that close to being perfect.
Like Velus Jones is the first offensive player that he ever selected. But it was in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Teams miss on 3rd round picks all the time. Chase Claypool, it was a panicked move.
Yeah.
It was, I'm trading away Roquan Smith. I'm trading away Robert Quinn. I'm carrying the most dead cap space of any team in the league. But
all right, let me pause for a second here. I wanted to see this. So apparently, we can't criticize for Velus Jones. I mean, I guess that's kind of fair. I mean, first pick, right? Gutekunst's first draft was not his best, and he certainly made some mistakes. And it was his first offensive pick, and it's bad. But I think you still are graded on that, right? I've never once said 2020 doesn't count. I mean, obviously, that was where we got our quarterback. But there's some level of like, okay, it was his first try. So if you want to go down that road, fine. But that wasn't also his only pick, right? I mean, we're clear on that. He also drafted Kyler Gordon in the second round. He looks like garbage. He drafted Jaquan Brisker in the second round. He's not looking good. So I would say it's less a matter of picking one random person like Velus Jones and say, hey, everybody misses. Because that's true. Everybody does miss. And I make that case with Gutekunst all the time. It's less about the misses, though, and more about the hits. Show me the hits. Braxton Jones in the 5th round, is that it? Who else? Who else is a hit? Maybe Roshan Johnson, whoop-de-frickin-do, it's a running back. Every running back is a hit. I mean, there's no such thing as just a trash running back. They can all run the ball at least somewhat. Patrick Taylor was fine. And then he has the audacity to talk about dead cap. Bro, your GM has dealt with the most cap space of any GM over the last 2 years, and I don't want to freaking hear about your dead cap problems.
I am trying to be fair to Justin Fields, who is an 11 out of 10 as a person, and I'd like to figure out if I have something here. I've got to give him something.
He's an 11 out of 10 as a person? First of all, if you're a GM and your criteria is he's a great person, so let's keep him, you're an idiot, okay? I don't care if he's an 11 out of 10 as a person, which I think is fake. I think you guys are just worshiping this person, which is pathetic. So you say nonsense like that. I mean, he seems fine. I'm not saying he's a bad person, but you're being ridiculous. And then the excuses. Well, he's an 11 out of 10, so we need to see what he can do. So I'm going to get him a wide receiver in the 3rd round who sucks. If you really want to, and this was the whole critique to begin with, you want to build around Fields, then do it. He used his first 2 picks on DBs, which I praised him for to say, good. It's not about building around your quarterback. It's about best player available. If you have a need and there's a valuable position there, you think Kyler Gordon's the best guy, great. That's a great pick. The problem is he was wrong. Kyler Gordon was not the best pick, nor was Jaquan Brisker, nor was Velus Jones. In fact, he'd have been better off taking Braxton Jones in the 2nd round. The idea that Velus Jones was a good idea because we need to build around Fields, what, because this 3rd round bust is really going to help you? Shut up.
And he overtraded for the traits of Chase Claypool. And I think
and by the way, the Chase Claypool thing, I didn't realize he was talking about that, whatever. The Chase Claypool thing, you want to talk about underselling how much of a disaster this is. Oh, we overbelieved in his traits and underbelieved in the off-the-field stuff. Let me just let him finish the sentence here.
He undervalued the personal stuff.
Yeah.
Because then when he learns the mistake from that and he trades for Montez Sweat, there were a lot of people saying, trade for Chase Young.
So this is nonsense. This is garbage. The idea, okay, so what he's saying is he learned, right? He's learning. That's the whole point. He went out and got a guy that's a talented wide receiver, but he had off-the-field issues that caused problems. So then when we had 2 different edge rushers from Washington that we had to choose from, he chose from the more mature player as opposed to the more talented player that takes plays off or whatever. No, he went out and got the guy that he thought was the better player, right? And that's what he did with the wide receiver too. That's what he did with Chase Claypool, but he was very, very wrong. He traded a 2nd round pick for a guy, and it's not just personality. He is not in the NFL anymore. Chase Claypool is playing football in Canada right now. Because he's garbage, and your GM gave up a 2nd round pick for that guy, and you want to give him an A? Come on.
Off that defensive line. More talented, better pedigree player, all of that stuff. But he loafs. He takes plays off.
Yes.
And Montez Sweat, whatever he's got, he's giving it to you.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a direct, because it's the exact same trade. It's a 2nd round pick for an established player that you're hoping to pay. They paid Montez Sweat. They obviously didn't pay Claypool. So I think also with anything,
obviously,
learning, proving that you learn from your mistakes.
And by the way, this elite football player, 68 PFF grade Montez Sweat had for the Bears. It was 75 overall. By the way, his grades since 2020, 80, 75, 86. He started off with Washington, had a 77 PFF grade. Goes to Chicago, had a 68. He's never been that bad before, ever. Ever. His only stretch of time with any team, Washington being the only other team, his worst grade, I mean, aside from his rookie year, it was a 60. But aside from that, once he kind of figured it out, was I mean, I guess 2021, he had a 76 PFF grade, 68 for the Bears. 68. He had 3 games where he graded out as good, weeks 12, 14, and 15 against Minnesota, Detroit, and Cleveland. Hats off to you, by the way, for taking care of Minnesota and Detroit. But those are sandwiched between a 39 against Detroit and a 38 against Arizona. He had a 69 PFF grade against the Green Bay Packers. 59 run defense, 67 tackling, 70 pass rush. He had 1 pressure on almost 30 attempts. Now, the stats aren't bad. 37 pressures and 8 sacks on 279 attempts. That's pretty incredible. But overall, on a game-to-game basis, because, again, almost every single one of those sacks came in those 3 games. In fact, you know how many sacks he had outside of those 3 games? He played a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He played 9 games. Do you know how many sacks came in the 6 games outside of those 3? 1. And he had more pressures in those 3 games than the other 6 as well. So unless you were the Minnesota Vikings week 12, Detroit week 14, or Cleveland week 15, you didn't really see anything special out of this guy at all. And you talk about taking plays off. Bro, he went from a 70 to a 30, and then 70, 70, 90, and then 30. This dude takes games off. What are you talking about? But oh yeah, you got the steal. You got the guy. Chase Young for the San Francisco 49ers, he's not there anymore. But what did he do? He had a 70 PFF grade. 67 run defense, 50 tackling, not great, 66 pass rush. He graded out better in San Francisco than Montez Sweat did in Chicago. But whatever. Congratulations. And San Francisco basically rented him for a year to try to go win a Super Bowl because they are in a Super Bowl window. Chase Young, by the way, would have been such a better play. He's not even 25 yet. You want to be the young team that is ascending for the next several years. You went out and got Montez Sweat, who's going to be 28. I mean, Chase Young would have been a good move, and you pay the guy, and he's there. If you're, let's say you got this thing turned around. Let's say it's 2025. And listen, Montez Sweat still got some years left. He's got, let's say, 2 more years in him. But by the time you're peaking, you got to get rid of the guy. That's assuming, because 2024 is not it. I'm so sorry to tell you. Your quarterback's not going to come in here and just tear up the league and you're going to win the Super Bowl. At best, 2025. If you've got that dude at quarterback, by next year, you add a couple more defensive pieces, you build up your offensive line more, your quarterback kind of has a better understanding of what he's doing, gets a better rapport with his wide receivers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 2025 is the year. Montez Sweat is 29. Chase Young would be what? He'd be 26? So he'd be with the team for at least 4 years on this run of being good. Whereas Montez Sweat is gone by the time you figure it out. And you're going to sit here and try to tell me that Chase Young, who's the better player, Chase Young, who's younger, Chase Young, who had a better year last year, was the wrong pick, and your guy got the right pick because he figured out not to get the guy that takes plays off, despite the fact that Chase Young was also more consistent. His lowest graded game was a 53 compared to Montez Sweat's 2 games in the 30s. I think you're just making stuff up. You're just saying things to say things. This is something Bears fans say in their little circle jerk. This is all fake nonsense. I forgot to take a break. We're 30 minutes into this thing. We'll just take one break today, I guess. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. This spring, make sure you're eating stress-free with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Every single one of Factor's fresh, never-frozen meals is chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Like literally 2 minutes. You can choose from a weekly menu of 35 options, including Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, Vegan, and Veggie. And they've got more than 60 add-ons every single week, like breakfast, on-the-go, lunch, snacks, beverages. So there's nothing to wait for. Get started right away. If you're looking for something gourmet, they've got that too. They got premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, truffle butter, broccolini, asparagus. I don't even eat that good. It's also going to be tailored to your schedule. You can customize your weekly meals with the flexibility to get as much or as little as you need, pause or reschedule deliveries to suit your lifestyle. So head over to factormeals.com/PackDaddy50 to use code PackDaddy50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box. That's code PackDaddy50 at Factor. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. We all have smartphones, and we all know they're pretty amazing, but they also can be amazingly distracting, especially when we're around other people. So US Cellular wants us to reset our relationship with our phones by putting down our phones for $5. That's right, a company that sells phones wants us to put down our phones. And to see what we find, learn more at uscellular.com/built for us.
Expressing your love can look many different ways. And with the right jewelry gift from Blue Nile, it can truly sparkle. Blue Nile's collection of classic diamond jewelry makes for the kind of gift that speaks volumes without saying a single word. Or switch things up with a sapphire piece sure to spark conversation. Either way, Blue Nile's Diamond Guarantee ensures you get the highest quality at the best price. Express yourself with Blue Nile, the original online jeweler, at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
I get a little carried away with my rantings. I don't know, we were already 30 minutes in. Good Lord. Please continue, Maestro.
Yeah.
And that you don't double down. That's a sign of intelligence to
Yes.
me.
Yeah, this is all. Listen, this is definitely a sign of your intelligence. Everything we've talked about is certainly a metric that we can use to test intelligence. Unfortunately, I don't know that I'm coming away with A. At best, we're sitting on a D, and I'm trying to figure out how we even get up to a D because, I mean, what are the accomplishments so far? I don't know. I'm struggling. I mean, listen, I will grant you that Montez Sweat's a good addition to the team. He just is. He's I mean, you look at the numbers as far as the pressure and sack rates. I mean, dude is, well, maybe not sack, but pressures. I mean, 64 pressures on 518 attempts is pretty solid. The year before, 62 on 448. Now, I think the sacks that he had, 16 on 64 pressures, is wildly. It's going to be very difficult to maintain. But I mean, he's a good player, and he's significantly better than anybody they had. I'm just not going to give you a massive amount of credit because any freaking dolt can have $100 million in the bank and swipe the credit card or throw away draft picks to go get these guys, which is the other thing that we're not counting on. That was the thing. That was a thing they commented on earlier, where initially this is a guy that's going to hit free agency, right? They gave away draft capital to make sure they get him. And one of the comments that this radio host, what's his name again? Danny Parkins says is, well, you don't know that you're going to get him in free agency. So you didn't even want to compete for a guy that was going to be available. And that's probably why most teams didn't give up any compensation for him, because I'm not paying you a draft pick for somebody you're cutting. Once he hits the market, we'll talk about it. And we'll work on, getting him in here, get the contract, et cetera, et cetera. And the Bears just cut the line. Again, this doesn't take, I mean, he's, and this is why simple-minded people like it. And I'm not even talking about the Bears fans because they just like everything because they're just a bunch of bootlickers. And again, they love Justin Fields, and as soon as Justin Fields leaves, they just find somebody else to attach to. But Colin Cowherd is sounding like a just low intelligence fan. One of those guys that's just trade all the picks and trade all this and give all the money and go get these big name players. It's easy and it's lazy. This is not how you build a football team. You're giving away draft capital for a player that's getting cut because you're scared that you can't win when the time's on and you have all the money. Of course you can just offer him more money. Just offer the guy more money. If you want him, he's going to get cut. Well, we don't know if he's going to hit free agency. Well, then he doesn't. Oh, well. This is why I respect Brian Gutekunst. He doesn't flinch. He's not going to be blackballed into this stuff. He's not just going to be, well, you know, Washington's doing these negotiations, and I could see the Packers in there with Brian Gutekunst, like, hey, we're interested in this, or they're you know, talking to the agent or whatever, and Washington's like, you know, we got people calling, like, you better offer us this if you want to. No, I'm not doing that. I know you're cutting them. I'm not doing it. Well, somebody's going to Oh, well, then best of luck to them. And the Bears give up another second-round pick, and the team starts to deteriorate because of a lack of picks. And then we hear things like, well, he didn't get to pick until the third round. That's not his fault. Yes, it is, because he gave away all the picks, except he reloaded his picks because he's a super genius that traded a first-round pick, or first overall pick, which apparently makes him a super genius. Except for the fact that, again, a freaking monkey could do that. I literally could get my 3-year-old daughter in here to do it. In fact, I'm going to. Hey, Riley, call in. Tell Brindley to come in here. Come here, I need your help. Okay, so I've got this thing called a draft pick. Okay, it's a really good one. Yeah. Okay, and then everybody really wants it. Okay?
Yeah.
So do you think I should trade it and get lots of good stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, should I do it?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I just did it. Okay, let me ask my second youngest daughter, Riley Grace. Shh, you're done. So I have a draft pick. It's the best one in the whole draft, and everybody wants it, okay? And if I trade it, I can get lots and lots and lots more picks, and I can get lots of good players. Do you think that I should do it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, Colin, you're next. All the kids are getting jealous. All right, so I need you to use your super giant brain power, okay? I need you to be as smart as you possibly can. I know you're really good at math. I can trade the number 1 overall pick for a bunch of picks and players. Do you think I should do it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks, kids. You see that? That's amazing. You mean to tell me that people call me? I don't even have to do anything. People call me and they say, I'll give you everything. I'll give you all my players and I'll give you all my picks. And all you have to do is say, yeah, like my kids did. And then you get all that stuff. And then people put you on their shoulders and they parade you down the street and they say, look at this genius. Look at this genius that called up Washington and said, what's it going to take to get him in Chicago? And they're like, how about a second-round pick? And he says, okay. And then they did it, and then he signed a piece of paper, and then the player came. What a genius! Who would have ever thought of that? Oh, the brain power it takes. Oh, wow. I can't even imagine how brilliant you have to be the highest bidder on somebody, to just keep, putting your hand up, hey, do I hear 5? 5, 7, 6, 6, 6, 7, 7, 7, 7 to the Bears, 5, 9. You just keep putting your hand up, and then sold. And it's like, I'm a genius. Look at that. I bet my wife would call me a genius. If I went to these places where they auction stuff and I just keep giving away all our money and I win everything that's there, do you think everybody in there would call me a genius? I wonder if my wife would say, honey, you are the smartest man. You gave away all our savings. You gave away all our money and our retirement. We have nothing, but we got all this crap. Of all the people here, you came home with these people. You're a genius. No, she'd probably divorce me because I'm an idiot. And she'd be right. And I think maybe the Bears should consider divorcing Poles. Just a thought. Please continue.
So to me, it's like, yeah, did it start a little choppy? No question. But he also inherited one of the oldest teams in the league with a ton of bad contracts.
Interesting, because he's bringing in old players. That's so weird. He inherited an old team. He cuts old players and brings in new old players with new expensive contracts. Frickin',
A quarterback that someone else drafted.
That you kept and believed in and tried to build around, which was your mistake.
First round pick in his first year. So his first draft picks are second round picks, both of whom, by the way, pretty good.
Nope. Neither of them is good. Neither of them.
Gordon and Jaquan Brisker, two guys who are starters in one of the best young secondaries in football.
What did you just say? They're both starters, which means nothing. Jonathan Owens was a starter. Demarius Randall was a starter. Starter doesn't mean anything. They are not good. They're not. They're not at all good. Even if you want to say they're decent with their 66 and 65 PFF grades, I would still probably have to disagree with you. Because the fact of the matter is the only reason Kyler Gordon didn't repeat what he did in his rookie year, which was a 49 PFF grade, is because he had a 90 against Arizona and an 85 against Carolina. Aside from that, the guy was god-awful. The guy played 13 games, half of which were in the 50s or lower. 57, 56, 56, 52, 47, and 30. Half of his games are below average to garbage. And 3 games graded as good, 2 were very good. This guy's not good at football. Jaquan Brisker is much more consistent, but he's very consistently average. In fact, he was average last year, 67 last year, 67 this year. He's the same average, not super great safety that he has been. And by the way, the other safety that you had, you got rid of because he had such an unbelievably stupid contract because you bunch of morons, I know it wasn't you specifically, but the Chicago Bears as an entity are such morons that the guy had one good year and you gave him all the money and sure enough, he fell off, which, by the way, you did again with your corner. Which is the only reason I'm assuming that you think you have the best secondary in football, which is an insane thing to say. It's not even close. Via PFF, you were 13th. So I don't know about best. I'm not sure you're up there with the Jets and the Ravens and the 49ers and the Bills and the Saints and the Browns and the Texans and just on and on and on and on and on and on and on. So you're better than about half the league. Congrats. But what kind of just psychotic nonsense is this?
Then when he gets a first-round pick, a lot of us are saying, Jalen Carter. You need a 3 technique for this defense.
Yep.
He moves down from 9 to 10, picks up an extra 4th-round pick, drafts Darnell Wright, right tackle, to support the quarterback. He makes all-rookie team. Looks like he's going to be a starter at right tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, this is painful. Let's recap here. We're going to put this one in the win column. You ready? What are we putting in the win column? The fans stupidly and desperately wanted them to draft a defensive tackle. This defensive tackle did have some off-the-field issues, so there were some concerns about him, as a player and whatnot, and how that all could pan out. Jalen Carter was the 7th best defensive tackle in the entire NFL. Not rookie. 7th best in the entire NFL. Dexter Lawrence, Aaron Donald, Quinnen Williams, Derek Brown, Chris Jones, Deshaun Hand, and then Jalen Carter. 7th best as a rookie, and I've already told you, rookie defensive tackles never do jack. They never have for years. This guy comes in as a rookie and is a top 10 defensive tackle. Instead, they got a guy that apparently is on the all-rookie team, whatever frickin' that means. He wasn't even the best tackle on his own team. Braxton Jones, who is average, had a 68 PFF grade, was a better pass blocker and run blocker than his first-round pick, Darnell Wright. And you want to freaking brag about the fact that you passed on potentially an elite defensive tackle for the next, 10 years. This guy is going to be one of the best defensive tackles in football for a very long time, especially now that Aaron Donald is gone. He may be the best defensive tackle, and you passed on him to trade back and take Darnell Wright, who graded he had a 62 grade, 66 run blocking, 61 pass blocking. He gave up 7 sacks and 41 hurries. It's the most between the Green Bay Packers and Chicago. Rasheed Walker gave up 6. But Rasheed Walker only gave up 26 hurries. You gave up 41. Total pressures given up. Let's see. Let's look at the minimum snaps here. So, I mean, Larry Borum only played about 4. Let's do pass rushing efficiency here, because that kind of factors in pressures, how many you played, et cetera, et cetera. So the best was Zach Tom, 97.1. The second best is Rasheed Walker in Green Bay, 96.1. After that is Braxton Jones, 95.8, and then Darnell Wright. He was the worst tackle between Green Bay and let's actually add in the other teams. Let's just do the entire NFC North, shall we? Let's find out where he ranks as far as this efficiency metric. Darnell Wright is dead last, unless you include Larry Borum, who played 1/3 the snaps. Darnell Wright is dead last. In fact, Braxton Jones, Darnell Wright, and Larry Borum are the bottom 3 in efficiency. It's Penei Sewell, then Zach Tom, then Darisaw, then Brian O'Neill, then Taylor Decker, some good tackles in the NFC North, not in Chicago though. Then David Quessenberry, who apparently, he played 300 snaps, but whatever. Then Rasheed Walker, then Braxton Jones, then Darnell Wright, then Larry Borum. So let me get this very freaking clear. You're telling me, with your big frickin' brain, that it goes in the win column and is part of the reason you're giving him an A is because he decided not to draft Jalen Carter and trade back and get the worst tackle in the entire NFC North. That's what we're bragging about, because he was in the all-rookie team by a bunch of frickin' writers who don't know they don't know anything. Shut up, Creative Cloud. They don't know anything. These are the people that vote on everything, and they're a bunch of morons. They're radio hosts like you and writers that don't know anything, who give Ryan Poles an A because he passed on one of the best defensive tackles, one of the best defensive players to be drafted in the last 5 freaking years to get the worst tackle in the NFC North, and you're going to put that in the win column. Oh!
Yeah, for 10 years. And then the biggest thing by far, and the Sweat one was big, and the Keenan Allen was big,
yeah, huge,
is he trades the number 1 overall pick and picks the right team to trade to.
Yeah.
Gets DJ Moore, gets the second round pick that is.
Yeah. He did it because he knew he was going to get the first round pick, the first overall pick next year. That's the super genius in him. Okay, continue.
Tyreek Stevenson, another starter at cornerback who was really damn good last year.
Excuse me, what?
The first round.
Excuse me, what? Say that again. Tyreek Stevenson was really damn good, according to you. 60 PFF grade, 59 coverage grade. I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say these guys are terrible. Nobody's terrible. And Jalen Johnson was elite. I will call it like it is. But you're going to sit here and tell me that Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker and Tyreek Stevenson are, quote unquote, really damn good? You're out of your freaking mind. I mean, this is the exact same thing Packer fans do when they start hating on the Packers. They have no concept of what everybody else does. They are so ingrained in this little bubble. But Bears fans and Packer fans are different. Bears fans get in their bubble and they watch only their own team, and it's all they see. And they're like, look how good he is, look how good he is, look how good he is, look how good he is. And they have no idea how good all these other players are on all these other teams. And if they did, and they were able to compare them rightly, they would say, wow, our guys are fine, but they're nowhere near as good as all these other teams. Whereas Packer fans get in their bubble and they see bad things and they go, I hate him, he's bad. Why didn't he get more sacks? Why didn't he get to the quarterback? And they would realize that if they watched other GMs, if they watched other corners, if they watched other things, they'd realize, you know what, other guys make mistakes too and they do things wrong. It's the same thing, just the opposite side of the same frickin' coin. Oh,
pick this year, which is going to be, Caleb Williams, a once in a generation quarterback prospect. He has the.
I'm not giving you credit for that. I am not going to sit here and pretend that Ryan Poles is playing frickin' 3D upside down, inside out chess with the rest of us, where he passed on CJ Stroud because he knew he was going to get Caleb, and Caleb's going to be better. By the way, I really doubt Caleb's going to be as good as CJ Stroud. He could be. There's somebody in this class that might be, but just from a basic common sense mathematical standpoint of when you look at the odds of things, the odds that these guys are going to be successful, even the top guys, we're talking maybe 50%. When you get a guy like Trevor Lawrence or Caleb Williams, it's maybe 50%. CJ Stroud already is one of the top quarterbacks, so it's not even a debate at this point. We'll see how it turns out. But I'm absolutely not giving you credit for passing on CJ Stroud and then moving back and getting garbage, and then, oh, but we still got this pick. You know what? Fine, do something with it. Actually do something with it. Because I'll tell you what, if you draft Caleb and Jaden Daniels goes on to be a great quarterback, I am never going to stop harassing you morons. I mean, I'm already not going to, but this is the most incompetent team that these guys fail you every single turn, and somehow they've convinced you that everything they're doing is great. And you don't see how stupid this is. And maybe it's because you've only seen incompetence, that anytime something happens, you don't know what it takes to have a good team. You don't get it. You're not a Packers fan or a Patriots fan or Steelers fan or whatever, where you're ingrained in these processes. Like there's a way that we do things here. Chicago doesn't have that. They don't have this way of doing things. They've had these teams and these defenses and these things, these entities that were good, but they don't have this process. They don't have this tradition that's passed down that promotes greatness. They have no idea, so they're just flailing. They have no foundation for what makes a team great. So they scoff at the notion of draft and develop in place of just all this excitement. We cut Roquan and went and paid a bunch of money to some other guy that sucks worse than Roquan. Oh, he's a genius. He paid all the money and he gave away all the picks and he made all the trades. Whoop-de-freaking-do. And what do we have to show for it? We had to give away a safety because his contract was so stupid. We drafted a guy in the first round that's not good. Our offensive line isn't good. We don't have a quarterback. Our running backs are a mess. And so we went out and got this random freaking guy, I don't know why, to come in and be like the receiving back, I guess. I don't understand that move. We get a 32-year-old Keenan Allen to rent for a year. I don't know why. We're probably going to be drafting a guy. We already have a number one wide receiver, so I guess we just want 3 elite wide receivers. Why? Well, because we want our GM to look good. We want him to not lose his job. And by we, I mean he. He wants to not lose his job. So he's going to do the wrong things to make sure that this season is a success. Even if it hurts us in 2025, 2026, he doesn't give a crap. He wants to make sure that he doesn't get fired this year. That's the goal. He's manipulating you. He's manipulating this team and he's abusing this team to ensure that he has a job beyond this year. And you're applauding him for that. It's right in front of your face.
Their second round pick next year from Carolina. And
wow, because he has such a great track record with his second round picks. He's so good, like with Gervon Dexter, who sucks, and Tyreek Stevenson, who sucks, and Jaquan Brisker, who sucks, and Kyler Gordon, who sucks. Give me a break.
By the way, DJ Moore.
Do something with it, aside from just trading it away for garbage players. Oh, by the way, we got DJ Moore. Yeah, again, you did nothing for him. You got paid DJ Moore and all these picks. Why? Because you're so incompetent. You had the number one overall pick. You sucked so much, and I'm supposed to give you credit for that? I'm going to give you credit for being the worst team in football? And capitalizing on it the only way you know how, which is not drafting anybody with talent, because that would be too hard. No, trade it away, get a bunch of picks that are just like theoretically good players because they haven't materialized into anything yet. Go and get a player that's already established himself, and then you can call yourself a genius because you have picks and an established player that you didn't earn. In fact, you did the opposite of earning it. You are the worst team in football, and then you use that capital to steal value that you've done nothing with.
So it's one of the great, people will reference the Herschel Walker trade. It is truly one of the great trades in modern NFL history. If Caleb Williams is everything that you and I and the vast majority of people think that he will be. It's
one of the great trades. It's just a very basic trade. He got standard value. I went through the math. It came out to the single digit. The values lined up perfectly. So it was just a basic trade. And again, he shouldn't have traded out because he had the quarterback right there. Oh, well, it doesn't matter because he knew he was going to get Caleb, and he knew Caleb was going to be great. You're being stupid. He believed in Justin Fields, which is another L for your GM. Instead of drafting C.J. Stroud, who took a team that was a joke to the verge of the Super Bowl in year one. And you're just glossing over that because he knew that if he traded with the Panthers, that he'd get the number one pick. And he knew that he would be Caleb Williams. And he knows that Caleb Williams will be the best quarterback in football. This is a fairy tale. This is all a fairy tale. None of that was guaranteed. None of it is guaranteed. And the vast majority of people do not think that he's going to be the best quarterback in football or better than C.J. Stroud or anything than that. There may be a general consensus that he's the number one quarterback, but there are a lot of concerns. In fact, I would happily go so far, especially since all the concerns have come up, to say that he is nowhere near the prospect that Trevor Lawrence was. Trevor Lawrence was a can't-miss generational prospect, and there is nobody that poked holes in Trevor Lawrence the way that people have poked holes into Caleb Williams, especially after that Notre Dame game and some of that stuff. A lot of people have serious doubts. In fact, a lot of people today have Caleb as not even the number one quarterback. And I'm not just talking about like me and JJ with our little opinions, which, let's be honest, are not that valuable. But you got NFL quarterbacks and all these other people who are saying Caleb is not the number one. It's Jaden Daniels. Caleb is not the number one. It's Drake May or whatever. There is absolutely not a consensus at all on Caleb being even the top quarterback. And I'm sorry to tell you, not every single one of these quarterbacks is going to be elite. I mean, it might be. It could just be some generational thing where all these quarterbacks are great. You look at, for example, the Jordan Love season. That was pretty much all of them are good quarterbacks. Like the worst in that group, even through the second round, I think is Tua. And he's a pretty good freaking quarterback. But you're sitting here victory lapping before you even draft a guy. And I said this when you drafted Justin Fields. I said, you guys just did this. Don't start doing victory laps yet. But they couldn't help themselves before the guy ever took a snap. They were doing jumping jacks and backflips. Oh, man, they were just dry humping the dirt, man. Had to get out the frustrations, you know?
They've got a very good cap situation. They've got very good players.
Again and again and again. And by the way, the reason your cap situation is so good is because your players all suck. But it's starting to not be so good because you're starting to pay everybody. Not everybody that's actually, people that you drafted, which are zero. But you got one corner that the last guy drafted that's good that you probably overpaid. And then you got a bunch of other people that you acquired through other means like trades and free agency that you are paying because you don't have the talent to actually draft and develop. Which, by the way, who have you drafted? Who have you developed? Show me anybody. You could say Jalen Johnson if you think he wasn't going to get there anyways. That's fine. I'll give you Jalen. I don't have a problem with that. Who else? Who have you developed? Who have you drafted? And yes, I did overstate the fact that Jaquan and Kyler and Tyreek Stevenson suck. They don't suck. They're average. Zach Pickens does suck. Javon Dexter does suck. Darnell Wright was a pretty big swing and a miss, although he could certainly grow. Who's the guy? I mean, it's early. There's time. You don't know till year 3. This year right here is going to be year 3 for Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, Velus Jones. Oh, he's gone already. Braxton, although I don't think Braxton's going to grow from where he is. I think he is what he is. We'll see. I don't know. But this is it, man. Let's see what they can do. See if Gordon can take another step. He took a step from year 1 to year 2, which again was only on the back of 2 games, but still, let's see if he can take another step. Jaquan Brisker's flatlined for 2 years. Let's see if he can kind of be the dude, right? It's year 2 in this defensive system. Maybe. Everybody's all excited about like 4 games where the defense was really dominant, supposedly, and that just shows how elite they are or whatever. And Bears fans are all just, again, humping the sky right now, bumping and grinding on their wall, the picture of Poles that they got hanging up. Don't act like this guy isn't licking the poster in his freaking room, all right?
In their athletic prime, Jalen Johnson, Tremaine Edmonds, Montez Sweat.
How dare you say Tremaine Edmonds? You want to talk about stupid. I'm sorry. I know you guys have heard this 1,000 times. I have told you I'm not a genius, but I called this perfectly, okay? And I told Bears fans this, and they refused to listen. In fact, I'm going to spend the entire freaking day going back and seeing if I can find receipts on this because I took so much hell and I was 100,000% right about how this was going to go. Let's just recap what I said. Tremaine Edmonds in Buffalo, his grades 57, 59, 41, 48, garbage. Then in 2022, 82 with a 77 tackling grade, 72 pass rush grade, and a 90 coverage grade. His coverage grades went from 2 seasons in the 30s to a 90. The Bears, being stupid, saw what he did in 2022, said he's the best linebacker in football. They paid him like $18 million a year to come to Chicago. Guess what he did? He reverted back to who he was before that year. I told you that was going to happen. I told you this happens all the time. Bad players have these fluke years where like all of a sudden it's like, it's just really good, And it's fake. Don't go for it. And they're like, well, look at what happened with Devondre Campbell. He was bad, and then he blew up. That's true. It's possible. Although it was a different situation because he was on this team, and that's where he blew up. And even then, I was skeptical. I assumed he would revert back to who he was, and I was wrong. He did revert back, but not fully back. He kind of leveled off, but at a high level. But still, that was because of Green Bay. He stayed in Buffalo that whole time. So it wasn't anything that changed necessarily. And listen, it was possible. I said it was possible that the guy just figured it out in year 5. He went from being garbage, like hot, steaming garbage, to the best linebacker in football. And he stays the best linebacker in football. And he better stay not just good, but elite with the money that you paid him. And he didn't. He didn't have one game even as high as his overall grade last year, which was an 82. Not one. 3 games in the 70s, that's it. After that, it was 66, low 60s, 63, 63, 60s. So he had 3 games in the 60s, 3 games in the 70s. That's it. Everything else was below average. 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 40, 40, 40. He had as many games in the 40s as he had in the 70s. His games against Green Bay were 60 and 50. Thank you so much, by the way, for adding him to your team. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. I freaking told you. And your GM is a dummy, and he did it anyways. Nobody else was going to make that trade or pay that freaking guy. Golly. Oh, and you have to pay him. You have to pay him. And he's young, and he got a big contract. And you have the audacity to bring that up in the win column?
Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, these guys are all 25, 26, 27 years old, under contract.
Yes, they are. Not the old ones, though. Your Sweat, by the way, 28. I mean, he's 27 now, but he's going to be 28 when the season starts. So he's 28 years old. And again, the wide receiver you got is 32 years old. So I don't know what you're talking about. And yeah, they are under contract. They're under big contracts because your GM doesn't know how to do anything other than overpay for people and then have people like you put those things in the win column and say that he deserves an A. Again, a freaking ape could do this. Should I call my 3-year-old back in here and have her negotiate these contracts? Right? It's very simple. Like, well, he wants more money. Okay, give him more money. Oh, okay. Well, I guess we got him. Yay! Ding, 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 ding.
Players on rookie deals: Brisker, Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, Darnell Wright, Tevin Jenkins.
You haven't listed a single good player. Maybe Tevin Jenkins, who your GM did not draft, by the way. Maybe Tevin Jenkins at guard. The guy has unbelievable injury issues and is probably going to be out of the league in a year and a half. But yeah, he's a pretty good player when he can actually be on the field.
Who I hadn't mentioned. And now you're going to inject the 9th overall pick, whoever he ends up taking, and there's a ton of great options.
Yep.
And Caleb Williams, and a good quarterback on a rookie deal.
Yeah, Caleb Williams was handed to you on a silver platter, right? So that doesn't take talent to draft that guy who's sitting there. Then you have to develop him, which you've shown nothing, and there's nobody on your squad right now that seems to be a really good quarterback development guy, which, by the way, I think this guy might have been on the panel that asked Jackson Smith and Jigba about the new offensive coordinator, and he basically said no comment. So you have an offensive coordinator that sucks. I think he brought along the quarterback coach, who I think is very inexperienced, and you have a defensive head coach. So yeah, best of luck on that whole development thing. But yeah, we'll see if the guy that was handed to you on a silver platter can be developed into his potential, and if you can actually do something with another top 10 pick. Because this is going to be what, your third? How many top 10 picks? You had Darnell Wright, and that's it. But you got 2 this year, right? So you'll have 3 top 10 picks, presumably, unless you trade the other pick, which you might as well, because you're not going to pick a good player. And if you just trade the picks, you get credit for it, right? So then you're a genius. So you might as well just do that, because as long as you keep trading and not actually trying to capitalize on those and just allow these picks to be theoretical, you're still a genius. Because everything that's theoretical makes you a genius somehow. I don't know how.
The Bears should be set up under Ryan Poles for a really long runway of success here.
I can't be...
Whatever. Go ahead with your thoughts here, Colin Cowherd.
The only person that has noticed Matt Eberflus, the coach, has changed his look. What's up with that?
Yeah, so he credits his wife and daughters, and it's very weird because when...
Wow, that's an amazing story. Thank you so much for that. I cannot believe it's been an hour. I feel like I've been talking for 20 minutes and I'm ready to take a break and go on to part 2. I told you I was in a bad mood, man. Holy cow. I was in a real bad... I blacked out. I freaking blacked out, dude. Jeez. Oh, I felt good. I needed that. I needed that a little bit. Am I wrong? Am I overshooting here? Where am I going wrong? Should I give Jaquan and Kyler Gordon more credit? Should I give I'll tell you the Bears could potentially be a really good team. Let's end with that real quick. Let me just give them credit, but in a freaking rational sense. I mean, giving this GM credit for doing jack squat, doing negative is nonsense. But let's look at the potential of this team if everything hits. Because there's obviously it all centers on Caleb, which, by the way, it sounds as though they've 100% made their decision, which is a little surprising to me. Like, they're courting Caleb like crazy. They're taking him out to dinner in LA and Chicago, all this stuff. Like, just they're going to town. You don't even want to meet with Jaden or Drake or JJ for that matter. You don't even want to entertain it. I'm just saying. But okay, all right. I just understand if Caleb is not as good as Jaden Daniels or one of the other guys, it's going to be brought up that you never even considered it, that you never sat down with the guys. I mean, you maybe met with them or whatever at the thing, but like you didn't take them out. You didn't call them to Chicago. Like, this is a huge decision, and you have to get this right, and you're not even trying to look at the other guys. Just saying. But all right, let's say Caleb is like CJ Stroud good. So you got that, right? You got an offensive line that is okay, I guess. Let's say Wright, Darnell Wright actually becomes a good tackle, which he is not. You got wide receivers like crazy, right? Moore and Allen, potentially 2 top 10 wide receivers. You might get another, but let's just wait on that because you actually probably need more stuff than wide receiver, more important things. I don't think you're taking a tackle, although I think that should be on the table, but you've got Braxton, you got Darnell, you're not replacing Darnell Wright. Let's pretend Tevin Jenkins isn't injured half the year again. He's a solid left guard. At center and right guard, it's kind of a mess. It's pretty bad. Running back is subpar, but okay. You've got one pass rusher. You don't have anybody on the interior that's any good. You don't really have another pass rusher opposite Sweat. Maybe that's the direction you should go at 9, to be completely honest. I think that probably is the direction you should go. You've got Jalen Johnson. Let's say he stays that good. Let's say Tyreek Stevenson or whoever takes a step in year 2 and goes from being, the 80th corner to, let's say, within the top 64, a number 2, legitimate number 2. You got Edwards at linebacker. Sanborn seems decent at linebacker. Edmonds is a joke, and I don't have any expectation for that. And then you went out and got Kevin Byard, which, again, whoop-de-doo, you swipe the credit card. The guy, by the way, is 31 years old. We don't want to talk about that. Another 31-year-old, and he has been declining since 2021. He was the number 1 safety in 2021. He was 8th in 2022. He was 23rd this last year. Still not bad, but declining every year. I mean, if you continue on that track, what did he go down 11? Then he went down, 6? So if he goes down really anymore, he's down in the 60s. But so you got Kevin Byard and Brisker. So that's your duo, right? So, I mean, you're not going to be the number 1 team. Competing in the NFC North, I mean, even if you have a really good quarterback, man, I mean, assuming the Vikings don't get them, which is unfair to, if they get JJ to not assume that theirs is going to pan out, but yours is. But let's just say that's the case. So the Vikings don't have a quarterback, so you're probably better than them. They don't really have the defense. They're working on it. They're clearly in a building mode. I don't think we need to really worry about them. Let's say at least until 2025. So for 2024's sake, you got the Vikings beat. I think you're still, again, even best case scenario, you're struggling in a 3-way race with the Packers and the Lions. Because Jared Goff is still a very good quarterback. At least he was last year. And unless we just assume that your quarterback is the number 1 quarterback, I mean, even if he's like a top 10 guy, I mean, I think Love and Goff are also guys that are going to be hovering in that range. And if Jordan is as good as he was in the second half, I mean, he's well beyond that. So he's going to be better than your quarterback. But all 3 have quarterbacks. The Bears have the worst offensive line, probably have the best receivers. They have, of the 3, probably the worst running back group. They have the worst pass rush group, probably the worst defensive line group. As far as corners, I mean, that might be the best, depending on what the Packers do. I mean, if Jalen Johnson stays ahead of Jair, Stevenson's probably better than what we have at number 2. And then the Lions are also a disaster. So you got better corners. Safety, we'll have to see what the Packers can do. If they find anybody at strong safety, they got a better group. Otherwise, it's the Bears. So I'll give you the DBs. Not that they're necessarily good, but better than what they have in the rest of the NFC North. And then linebackers, I don't know, man. I mean, Edmonds is garbage. Edwards and Sanborn, though, are decent enough. But I have a hard time when you're talking about quarterback, offensive line, running back, defensive line, like all of that goes to the rest of the NFC North. I mean, again, at best, you're just competing. And we got to see how everything shakes out. And again, I will grant you that you can be, and that's assuming things go well. I mean, those guys on the defensive line that you drafted last year have to step up because they were hot garbage last year. The guys that you talked up like crazy, those guys, oh, they're so good. Oh, yeah, was it Dexter? Dexter, they used him wrong in Florida. They used him wrong. That's why he was bad, because they used him wrong, and we're going to use him right. He had a 50 PFF grade. He wasn't even in the top 100. So I don't want to freaking hear it. And they brought in Andrew Billings, who's not good, and is also 29 years old. You brought in a bunch of old guys, half of whom are not good at football. DeAndre Swift was the 45th ranked running back last year. And I'm supposed to what, throw you a freaking parade? Good Lord, man. I mean, this is the most hodgepodge pile of crap. I mean, you had so many opportunities to make this better than this. You could have had, again, one of the best defensive linemen, one of the better pass rushers, one of the biggest, most, I mean, if there's any, if you could give up any, like, young defensive player, I mean, the guy they passed up on at defensive tackle has to be one of them. One of the youngest, scariest, most disruptive players, and you passed on him, just like you passed on C.J. Stroud. And I'm supposed to give you a round of applause because you ended up with a bust right tackle and a Will C quarterback that a lot of people have questions about. But you're all in and you're not even going to entertain drafting anybody else. Okay, best of luck, and best of luck with Keenan Allen for 1 year. And DJ Moore, who's going to regress because he's never been as good as he was last year. And part of the reason he was so good is because Justin Fields was a bad quarterback and just force-fed him all day long because he didn't know what else to do. Made DJ Moore look pretty good. I don't think your new quarterback's going to do that. And if he does, great. I hope he does, because that means he sucks too. Johnson and Moore are going to regress. Keenan Allen is a 1-year rental, and if he can even continue doing what he did in a completely different offense for many years with a significantly better quarterback, don't forget who his quarterback was for all these years, a very good quarterback. Before that, Phillip Rivers, who was also a very talented and really underrated quarterback. Now he's working with this rookie. But yeah, have fun with your 1-year rental to save your GM's job. I'm sorry. I tried to end it on a positive note for the Bears. I'm just frustrated because this should have been so much better. I mean, this spot right here that I'm looking at that says quarterback Ripien, that should say C.J. Stroud. It doesn't. You gave that away because you're a super genius and you knew that the Panthers would have the number 1 pick, and then you knew that you would. Shut up. Shut your stupid face. All right, I'm out of here. I'm out. I'm not going to say Seacrest out because that's stupid, but I am out. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.